بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم ألهمنا مراشد أمورنا وأعذنا من شرور أنفسنا. Discussing the Mubarak Hijrah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the lessons that the seerah of Allah's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was meant to leave for the ummah that would come year after year. The life of Allah's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was unlike the life of any hero, any leader who had come in the history of man. Every other leader that came, if his outer life was meant to be an example, they would always ensure that his private, his life with his family, with his children was hidden. Sometimes there would be a very evil history behind the scenes. There would be the story of a man at home who was like a wolf, who was evil, who would beat, who would cheat. So he would be known as a very powerful leader, but no one would ever speak about when he would return home, what was his condition. Would his wife and his child love him as much as the people outside? Or would day by day they would wish for his death? But the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was completely different. This is why it is called seerah. Seerah, which means sarah, a path. That it was a path that he walked on. It was a path that he walked on, and it was able for many others to walk on that very path. It was a path on which the poor was going to be allowed to walk. It was a path on which the rich would find a system that they could follow. It was a path for the person who was the victor. It was a path for a person who was under. When the hijrah of Allah's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam began, look at this lesson that we will take from seerah, and indeed it's a unique lesson. Makkah Mukarramah was beloved to the people of Makkah Mukarramah. Whether they were people of Iman or whether they were idol worshippers, this was the land. That Kaaba, even with so many idols in it, was the Kaaba. It would pull the Arabs during the days of Hajj from very far. It was on account of Kaaba that the Quraysh around the Kaaba had that honor. Would it ever have been easy for the people of Makkah Mukarramah, especially after Iman entered their heart and they understood that this is the house of Allah? What made it easy for them to make this hijrah? It is called Tarkul Watan, that which you grew up in, that which you were familiar with, that which you knew the in and out. What made it possible for a person, when Allah's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was making his final steps away from Makkah Mukarramah, the books of history explained he looked at the Kaaba and he spoke to the Kaaba, saying that on the surface of the earth you are the most beloved house to me. Had it not been for what my people have done, I would never have left you. Was it easy to leave the Kaaba? Allah Tabarak Ta'ala speaks of the Muhajirin who left lil fuqara'il Muhajirin. That even yesterday they could have been very wealthy men in Makkah Mukarramah. As soon as their foot stepped out of Makkah, they were going to lose their house. Their business had already closed. They were going to separate from their family. Amongst the Arabs, your family was your life. They would stand for you, they would aid you, they would help you. What made it easy to make the step away from Makkah Mukarramah? It is a unique lesson of the hijrah. It was the many years of difficulty that the Muslims of Makkah Mukarramah had to bear. Difficulty is a thing in this world. It is a thorn which spoils the entire rose. The people of this world, when we see that thorn coming, our dua is, oh Allah, we want a rose with no thorn. It is a lovely dream, it is a lovely dua. Allah's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us the truth, however. At the Qabristan, what a place to teach a lesson. He sat, with his finger he drew in the sand. He drew like a box. A box means you're not getting out of the box. Everyone's in this box. He said this is the life of man. And then he drew a line in the center, going out of the box. The line going out of the box, he said, these are the hopes of man. How far he thinks he will reach, where he is going to reach. But then he drew small lines going towards the line in the center. Small lines. On both sides. Lines coming from the bottom towards the center line. Lines coming from on top towards the center line. He said, these are the difficulties of life. Even if this one misses him, this one hits him. If this one misses him, this one hits him. Why did Almighty Allah make such a world? Where with every rose there had to be a thorn. Where every time you are hearing someone saying Subhanallah, you are also hearing Inna Lillah. Someone is born, someone is passing away, someone is smiling, someone is crying. Had there been no difficulties in the 13 years of Makkah Mukarramah, would it have been easy for every person of Makkah to Mukarramah to set out on the journey to Madina Munawwarah? Had there been no suffering, had there been no persecution, had there been no being dragged on the sands, had they been knowing always this desire, when will this come to an end? And then they were told, Allah has kept for you another world, another land. But to get to that land, you will have to be ready to sacrifice what you have. The sacrifice was going to become easy because of the difficulty before it. They were going to lose their house, but they understood in front we will find a home. They were going to lose friends, but they understood in front we will find brothers of Iman. Me and you want a life in this world with no thorn. But let us see what will be the result if there's no thorn. If everything in this world has to move 100% according to plan, if there is never a pain, if there is never a break of my desire, if there is never a separation of someone close to me, and then I am told that get ready to find Allah in the year after, you will find that the thing that man will dislike the most is to leave this world. Almighty Allah in His kindness, how many places we have seen it. Why does death normally come after old age? Because when old age comes, it comes with its own luggage. Man now cannot enjoy food like how he enjoyed when he was young. Now when he eats that lovely biryani, but that night he does not have a lovely sleep. Now the stomach is making some sounds. Now he is more in the toilet than out. Now the leg is paining, now the back is paining. Either he is sick or his wife is sick, or somebody else is sick around. You will see as the days go, you will hear a person saying that now I am getting tired of this world. The reason is this world got a lot of thorns. Whoever will put his eye on the thorns of this world, and it's something that we must do. It is a lesson from the Hijrah. If mine and your eye can every day fall on the thorns of this world, we will pull ourselves out of a deception. The deception is this world is a lovely rose. It's not. So me and you, every day we hear someone passed away. Every day me and you feel a pain. Every day me and you eat certain food, but we get full and we can't eat anymore. Whenever this happens, can we say to ourselves, this is not Jannah? This is not Jannah. Had it been Jannah, I would have eaten, I would not have got full. Had it been Jannah, I would have loved, I would never die. Had it been Jannah, I would smile, I would not cry. So then the difficulties of this world itself becomes an aid for me and you to make this hijrah, which is called Tarkul Watan. That there is a world which I grow up in, which I know everyone around me, which I understand all this, the causes, the moves, the businesses, the deals. And when someone says to me, are you happy to die? Then all of us, just because we never thought about the difficulties of this world. Let us think about the difficulties. By the kindness of Almighty Allah, He doesn't bring upon us such difficulties that make us start begging for death. It is a little prick. But that little prick must make me and you understand this is not Jannah. Sahaba radiallahu anhu's hijrah to Madina Munawwara, before it was 13 years of difficulty. Those 13 years of difficulty, when they would reach Madina Munawwara, they would say it was worth it. Had it not come, there would have been no Madina. Had it not come, there would not have been a Darul Islam. They could have stayed in Makkah Mukarramah, and the Quraysh could have said to them, you do what you want, we will do what we want. Do not interfere with us, and we promise we will not interfere with you. Had Allah made that happen, then it would have been as though they went to Abyssinia. They would have worshipped Almighty Allah in Makkah Mukarramah like in Abyssinia. But the adhan would never have gone loud. There would never have been the building of a masjid and from it masajid. There would have never been the forming of an Islamic army. There would never have been the days of Badr and Uhud. There would never have been all the ta'aleem of Islam which was now going to start. Everything started because of difficulty. We have reached a period in Muslim history that perhaps for the last couple of 60 or 70 years in many countries, in certain Muslim countries, they have gone through what we will call like hell on earth. Difficulties you can never imagine. But besides those, in many countries around that, we call it what was called the days of peace. People lived in ease. People lived with contentment, or not contentment, but content. Tomorrow my food is coming like how it came today. We had no fear that tomorrow there won't be lights. We lived with no fear that perhaps there won't be food. Perhaps the ship will not manage to get what I need. We went through such a phase in life that we forgot that this world got thorns. And when a person studies before the coming of the Mahdi, which all of us want, it is in the heart of every individual, when is the Mahdi coming? But when you will study what happens before the coming of the Mahdi, you will find before the Mahdi is coming, there will be difficulty. And that difficulty will perhaps affect a great portion of the world. Perhaps it will affect me and you. Perhaps it's already affecting us. During this what we call virus, where we have seen so many businesses going to the ground, we have seen the changing of so much of lives, we have seen death in so many houses so fast. If it can just bring us to one thought that this is not Jannah, and it can make us stand in preparation that if a call has to come for something better, will I be ready to make that step out of my Makkah moving towards my Madina? If a call has to come and my life is so enjoyable in South Africa, if I am really serious, truthful to myself, do I really feel I'll make the move? When I will see people in difficult conditions making this hijrat to the Imam of the believers, will I be like those who stood up when the first hijrat was going to begin? Historians mention perhaps it was the foster brother of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Salama radiallahu anhu, made this hijrah. So Abu Salama, his wife is Salama. This is like the kunniyat, not the real name, but they would be called Abu Salama, the father of Salama. His son was Salama. The mother, Salama. The first perhaps to make the hijrah. As he is moving, the tribe of his wife, they surround him. And they say, if you want to, you can go, but you will not take our daughter with you. She wants to go with her husband, they will not allow it. They pull her back. Historians write for 1 year, Salama radiallahu anha, she would go sit by one rock. She was separated from her husband. And then the tribe of the husband, they saw the child with her. So they said, you all can take your daughter, but the boy, he belongs to us. So imagine this woman. On one side, her iman wants her to be in Madina. Then she finds her husband pulled away one. He is going. He had made the hijrah, but she was not allowed. Then she sees this other group coming and taking her child away from her. And now what her desire was just yesterday, Madina, suddenly that whole dream broke. For 1 year she would go sit on one rock, perhaps near the place where she was separated from her family. For 1 year, every day, she would just go sit on that rock and cry. This is called hijrah. When the time of the thing comes, it might demand separation. It might demand that a man will say, I'm going. And the family of the wife says, you may go, but you are not taking our daughter with you. At that time, will man manage to make that step out of our Makkah, what we have grown up with, what we know, everyone around we know, to move towards our Madina? Allah's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, before the end of time, deen is going to go back to Madina, like how a snake goes back to its hole at the time of fear and danger. How that snake moves. But when that thing is going to happen, am I going to be also an Abu Salama? That if I hear that your son is not coming with you, then I still look back and I say, but I am going. Allah will bring them. Or at that moment do I say that if my family cannot come, I am also not going. Hazrat Suhaib radiallahu anh was known as Suhaib Rumi. He had come to Makkah Mukarramah, he had done business, he had become quite wealthy. The call of the Hijrat was made. They surrounded him. He took out his arrows. He said to them that, you know, I will not die easily. Many of you will get injured in this attack. He said, what do you have if I go? They said, you came to our land, you made business. Now you are taking it and you are going. He says, I put my wealth in a certain spot. I will tell you where it is. I'll allow you to go and take it. Allow me to go to my land. As he moved towards Madina Munawwara, he left Makkah Mukarramah rich, although his money was hidden. The next step was the step of Lil Fuqara il Muhajirin, of a man who lost all his wealth. When he enters Madina Munawwara, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam looks up to him and he says, Rabiha Suhaibun, that Suhaib today has done a deal that the profits of it you're going to continue seeing forever. But where that profits was, me and you will think about our hijrat, that if that call has to come, then I'm also a Suhaib, you also a Suhaib. We came in this Makkah of ours, we made business. Things went well, we put up a nice house, a nice structure. And then the call of the Imam of the Muslims one day, if it has to be made, will I be able to start moving? And if I am told what you have left in the bank, they're not going to let it come. Accounts are going to be frozen. When I managed to be a Suhaib at that time and reach Madina Munawwara, and to hear from the heart of Allah's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rabiha Suhaib, that what a Mubarak deal you had done today. You are going to see the prophets. Hijrat was not just a waqiyah in tariq. Hijrat was a lesson to every one of us. A day will come where everyone has to leave his watan, meaning the place which we became so familiar with. Either we'll have to leave dunya to go to akhirah, or perhaps before that we might have to see the day where me and you will have to make a hijrah. A hijrah which is known as not Darul Islam to a Darul Islam. A hijrah where we are allowed to worship Almighty Allah. We are not persecuted by the kindness of Almighty Allah. We got our freedom to a great extent, but in the ending it is called extent. It is never going to be Darul Islam. Perhaps Shaitan put this thought in the minds of many, what freedom we have to practice our Islam. But that was never Al-Islam. That was never the full picture of Islam. That full picture, the day that call is made, there will be some Abu Salamas, there will be some Suhaibs. The entire purpose of the Hijrah, and Muharram was the unique month to start the zikr of the Hijrah of Allah's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Every person, when the Tabi'i saw a Sahabi, he said to him that how blessed is your eye, that you had the chance to look at Allah's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, if I was in your era, I would never have allowed Allah's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam to walk on the ground. I would have put him on my shoulders. So the Sahabi radiallahu anh said to him, you make shukr that you were not in our era. He said, in our era, those who believed in the Nabi of Allah were dragged. They were persecuted to such an extent. He said that some of them, the condition of their mind reached that the dung beetle, that dirty beetle which is walking past, if a man is persecuted to such an extent that he doesn't know even what's happening. He said, if you pointed at the dung beetle, the man would have said, what must I say? You say, that's your God. He said, then also he would have said, that's our God. To that level we were persecuted, that there was nothing left of the mind. They wanted us to say what they wanted, a man would have said it. He said, what you are talking about, you would have put him on your shoulders. He says, perhaps you would not have been of our Jamaat also. Me and you also think about that. Imagine I was there at the time of the Hijrah. Imagine I was the Abu Salama and walking out. But do not imagine, because if it was, perhaps I would not be walking out. My wife would have pulled me back. My child would have pulled me. My wealth would have pulled me. My house would have pulled me. Hazrat Mufti Muhammad Shafi Sahib Rahimullah, after a lot of effort, he managed to put up his house in Darul Deoband, in Deoband near the madrasa. He was teaching for many years and he had his simple quarters, and Allah Tabarak Ta'ala gave him the chance. So he put up like what we have, your dream house. That the day I build, where my musalla will be, where my wuzu khana will be, how the entrance will be, exactly as I want it. And he had just completed it. Just completed, and normally when you're young you have the shauq like to put up frames. So he had one frame written. Perhaps the meaning of the frame was that this is not yours. You are in it for a while and then somebody else is going to take it. Something like that. And normally in shauq you put it up. Like, this house is not mine. I do not think he even lived in that house. The whole partition of India, Pakistan took place. And he made the decision also, I'm going to Pakistan. So he went. And a Hindu came and took over that house. Perhaps bought the house, whatever it was. Mufti Shafi Sahib Rahimullah, perhaps after about 20 years, if I'm not mistaken, he wrote about it. The kitab was called, meaning the journey back to Deoband. So after many years, perhaps it was 20 years, he made his next journey. So in the journey to the madrasa of his, where he studied, where he taught, one was the journey to his house, dream house. Says, as he's looking at that house, he's thinking like, all my dream was in that. And then he looks at that frame, and that frame was still there, not yours. Not yours. He said, how true it was. He said the Hindu allowed him to come in. That Hindu had shown respect to that musalla, it was still there like. He looked at it. This is called hijrat. The day which comes, whatever structure you put up, you have to be ready to go. If we don't think of hijrah, we will make one mistake, that whatever we build, we also put our heart in it. If that mistake is made, you will not manage to pull your heart out when it has to be pulled out. This world will allow us to build how much we want to build, but the heart can't go in. That heart can't go. If that heart is in, it is like that fish got that hook. That fish can carry on biting the worm, no problem. As long as it knows, don't bite too much. Bite around the worm. You will see when you go fishing. In Mauritius there are those boats which is called glass bottom. So they take you in that water where the fish come under the boat, you can see the fish. So you throw your rod inside and you can decide now, okay, I want that fish there. So you'll see the different fish coming and they're all biting. So you're only going to pull when it's time to pull. But some of these fish now, because they know that area, that every now and then Lord food is coming, so the fish learn the trick. So they'll come around, although you're looking at them. So masters they are, they'll know where to bite around. And you'll see them biting, but they're not getting caught. We have been taught in this world, you will build, but don't bite too hard. If you get hooked, we will not be ready to make that step. Neither will be ready for death. There are selected servants of Almighty Allah, when they got sick, and someone would come and ask, in recent times, when many got sick in this corona, and you would visit a person, you would find someone who's just like parishan, worried. And you will find another person who will say, someone asks, what's wrong with you? So he will just say that, there's different views, but one view is on the night of the 15th of Sha'ban, whoever is going to die the following year, their name is written. That's one view. So some of the selected servants of Allah, in that condition, you ask, what's wrong? So they just say, on the 15th of Sha'ban, the names were written. Maybe my name is also there. But when he says it, you will be shocked that in that condition, so calm. Because that hook is not so deep. So it's easy to pull out. Not so easy. You will still feel bad, I left my house. You will look at that house. But you are not like the fish who's hooked. That one will have to be grabbed and one will easily go. The lesson of the hijrat for me and you is, are we ready to become the Abu Salamas of the time? 1 year later, the family of Salama radiallahu anha, seeing her crying and crying, they spoke amongst themselves, what are we getting out of this? So they said, let her go. But now how was a woman going to make the hijrat? You have to go through a desert. After the world saw Islam, every year when people would make Hajj, so caravans would go, caravans. But the caravans that would go from Makkah Mukarramah to Madina Munawwara would always go in fear. Because in that journey there were so many spots where you can be attacked. Now you have one woman, Salama. They come and tell her, go. But how is she going to go? Because now there's no husband to take her. So Salama radiallahu anha comes and stands and she looks and she makes the journey, I'm going, the decision. Abu Salama taught the world a lesson that even if it means you have to be separated from your family, you'll have to go. Salama radiallahu anha taught the world a lesson. She looked, she stood and she saw the desert in front. Immediately in her mind would come the thoughts of fear. But how are you going to go on this? On every spot someone might attack you. Will you ever reach where you want to reach? Allah Tabarak Ta'ala in Quran speaks about walking towards Allah. وَمَن يَخْرُجْ مِن بَيْتِهِ مُهَاجِرًا إِلَى اللَّهِ. Whoever leaves his house intending reaching Allah, ثُمَّ يُدْرِكْهُ الْمَوْتِ. Even if death finds him on the path, meaning he doesn't reach, a day will come where me and you will have to make a hijrah to Madina Munawwara. If that thought comes, are you going to reach Madina? Then this lesson is being taught. If a woman could look and she says that my job is not reaching, my job is to walk. فَقَدْ وَقَعَ أَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ. Even if death comes along the path, by Almighty Allah is, you got the reward. She looked at the path. She set out. When she reached Tan'im, what we call Masjid Aisha, we tie our ihram, so close to Makkah Mukarramah, not far. The journey is only beginning. When she reached there, she finds Usman ibn Talha. On that day, he was a mushrik. He was going to accept Islam years later. He sees a woman all by herself. Where was a mushrik ever going to help someone to make the hijrah? They made every effort to prevent everyone making the hijrah. He looks at her and asks, to where? And she explains that I am going. How can you go yourself? When Almighty Allah makes a decision, then He says to her, I will take you. Where will a Muslim ever take a Muslimah? He would have harmed her there and there. He would have dragged her back to her tribe. When Almighty Allah makes the decision, even a mushrik has no control over his heart. He takes her in such a manner. When they reach what is called Quba, he says, your husband is somewhere in there. Go. She would say after that, مَا رَأَيْتُ صَاحِبًا قَدْتُ أَكْرَمَ مِنْ. I had never seen a man more noble than this man. Despite being a mushrik, he ensured on every step of the journey her complete izzat was kept in place. The separation was there. Protection was there. If she was going to be attacked, he was going to be the man fighting for her. But what made all that intizam? It gave a lesson to the world that you must be ready for the hijrah also. She made it. But that wasn't the end of her waqiyah. Her lesson wasn't going to stop for the world. Me and you might also have to make a hijrah to Madina Munawwara one day. And it's not that just when you reach Madina then everything is rosy. She reached Madina Munawwara. Abu Salama radiallahu anh reached Madina Munawwara. She found a husband. Very shortly after that, Abu Salama was going to pass away. It was not going to be happy days forever like. She was going to see sad days also. She was going to see sad days. She left a message to the women of the world, men of the world, even when you reach Madina Munawwara, it doesn't mean death can't come there also. When the world will make that hijrat, when the Mahdi will stand one day, there will be a lot of death. If death in this one virus could make everyone scared, and it pulled everyone back into the small groups, then at that time the call of death is not going to be heard so loudly. If in this condition a woman says to her husband, don't you dare go out, I don't think in that condition the woman is going to tell the husband, you go out. That is going to be a call of death. Why I am saying this is, remember before the hijrat there was difficulty. But that 13 years of difficulty made the hijrat easy. If we are going through a period of difficulty now, perhaps this difficulty will open. Perhaps it will not open. Who knows what the future holds? But whether it opens or not, Mubarak to that individual, from difficulty he can take lesson. And what lesson is this world is not Jannah. He must take the lesson so much that when the call comes to leave the watan, the homeland, he must say to the world, on the demise of Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, Abu Bakr radiallahu anh was also poisoned. Like how Allah's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was poisoned, Abu Bakr radiallahu anh was also poisoned. So he and a Sahabi radiallahu anh ate some food, and as soon as that Sahabi tasted it, he said, "Oh Khalifa, take it out." Because his tongue was like, some people have that tongue. They can immediately pick up. So he said, "Oh Khalifa of Allah, take it out." Khalifa of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Abu Bakr spat it out. Then he said to Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, me and you have eaten a poison. But this poison's effect is after a year. Some musanatin. He picked it up immediately on the taste. They were masters, those that were. He said the effect of this is 1 year. He says, on this day in 1 year's time, be ready to go. Me and you. And it was 1 year that he passed away also, and Abu Bakr radiallahu anh passed away. So later on, a tabi, most likely Sha'bi, he had one sentence, very unique sentence, he said. He said, how can there ever be value in that world which poisoned the Rasul of Allah and poisoned the Khalifa of the Rasul of Allah? He says, do you feel that there could be anything in this world? It poisoned the Nabi of Allah, it poisoned the Khalifa of the Nabi of Allah, meaning the best that came on this world also was going to show its disloyalty to them. This world is like that. It cannot give you that happiness you're looking for. That boy says, when I get married, I'll get happiness. But ask the married man. He will say it was a dream. That is why in this world we always say, have dreams. Why we call it a dream? Because the day it becomes reality, it's no longer so enjoyable. You tell a person, wait to get married. And we say, enjoy the wait. Because sometimes the wait is more enjoyable than the day itself. When he gets married, he has to have another dream, children. Now that woman is married, isn't it? You'll see that girl who carries on writing, please make dua, I must get married. I must get married. My friends are getting married. That boy is saying, make dua, I get married. He got a dream. And he really thinks the day I get the dream, that is Jannah. Soon as he gets the dream, why did the new dream start? That's when that girl or that boy is writing, make dua, we get children. It's already 1 year. It's already 1 year. You were like that person who said, oh Allah, just push me one step further, I won't ask any. This world is like that. Now there's a dream of a child. But it's a dream. We say, enjoy the dream. Sometimes you see a person saying, you know what, I don't know when my child is going to come. You say, enjoy the wait. Enjoy the wait. Because the day the child comes, first thing the person lands up, you say, hey, make dua, Allah saves him. Things are very hard. Things are very hard. Now the dream is gone. Now as that boy starts growing, that father starts putting his hand on his head. Now his dream is that my child must just get like 17, 18, 19, 20. I can get him married. Once I get him married, like then I can relax. That's the dream, isn't it? And he waits. That's why when the time of that nikah comes, how happy they are. He says, I did my job. Like, he thinks it's finished. Either his daughter-in-law and his wife starts fighting. Again, the hand goes on his head. Now he needs another dream. That make dua soon, he'll have his own house. Then everything will calm down. It's a dream. Say, enjoy the dream. Then they start working. Now they're building. Every day they're building that other house. Because the day that house comes, they'll be on their own. My wife will be on her own. Things will be okay. It's a dream. The day they move there, then there's another. Then they got children. Now the grandchildren are running in. It's a dream. Every time you ask a man when, he says, as soon as I retire. Visit him when he retires. And those pains which he never thought were going to come has come. This world is a dream, and the day you find the dream, it's a mirage. You put your hand, you thought it's water, it was never, it looked. Jannah is the opposite. Jannah is whatever you think it is, you find it one better. Whatever you're thinking it is. وَأُتُوا بِهِ مُتَشَابِهًا. Soon as they grabbed it, they say, I know this. Allah Ta'ala says, it only looked like what you knew. Soon as he puts it, he says, this is something different. May Allah Ta'ala prepare me and you. Our hijrat is also coming. Hijrat started as a Muharram issue for the new year. Muharram was going to repeat every year. It was going to be a living lesson to the world. That Islam demands a hijrah. Tarkul watan. Islam demands a hijrah. It demands it from everyone, but perhaps we might see a time where a real hijrah will be demanded from the people of the world. People have it in their mind, it will be easy like. Hijrah has never been easy. It has demanded separation from families. It has demanded separation from wealth. It has demanded that some along the journey pass away on the journey. They don't reach where they wanted. And it demands on reaching the land where you are intending, things might not go as you wanted it to go. But they made it, and they gave a lesson to the world that Madina was formed. May Allah Ta'ala make us also amongst those that when the call is made, then we are also able to pull out of this watan, a watan with a lot of difficulties, and move to something that is much, much better. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.